friends, my name is Katie. Welcome back to my channel, Life Between Words. I'm going to do a Christmas book tag today because it's almost Christmas. By the time this goes up, it might be a day away. This might go up on Christmas Eve. I'm gonna get it up before Christmas, but anyway, Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. As I now have 2 children, Christmas is definitely the most stressful time of year. I think any mom can probably relate to that, and I think probably most moms can relate to the fact that Christmas would not happen if it were not for you. I love my husband. He is wonderful, and we truly are partners in parenting. But I will also say that Christmas wouldn't happen without me. It's stressful to feel the burden of trying to make Christmas magical and special for your kids, which I want to do because Christmas was a magical and special time for me growing up, and so I really want that for my kids. Fox is only 3. He's like on the cusp of Christmas really meaning a lot. Like, he has gotten really excited this year, and it's so sweet and I love it, but like the Christmas hype is still very innocent right now, so I'm putting pressure on myself that really doesn't even exist. However, it's hard for me to turn that off. Needless to say, I have had very little time to read, and I have had very little time to myself just in general. That does not mean, however, that I dislike Christmas. Christmas is really, it's my favorite time of year. I just wish I had more time to myself, just a little bit, just a little bit more time to myself. Aren't you glad that you joined me today for me to just complain about Christmas, which I didn't mean to do because I love Christmas so much. I'm going to do the Christmas song book tag. I looked through a bunch of Christmas tags. I was not tagged in this by anyone. I just wanted to do a Christmas book tag, so let's get going. The first question is, "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Name a villainous character you can't help but love." I feel like I had really just one option that fit perfectly for this question, and that is Kenneth from the Live Ship Traders trilogy. Kenneth is a pirate, and he is clearly not a good person. If I were to step out on a limb, I would say he is probably a psychopath. He has very little compassion and pretty much no conscience. He won't help anyone unless it serves him. He doesn't feel anything for anyone that doesn't serve a purpose in his own life. And yet, he is really, really charming, and it's hard not to like him. And even, I have a feeling there's a little bit of a redemption arc in his storyline, so he might change by the end. I don't know. I haven't gotten to the end of the trilogy. This is the 3rd book, Ship of Destiny, that I'm on right now. So I don't know where his character is going to go by the end of the books. But, you know, the Grinch has a redemption story arc, and so, you know, maybe Kenneth will too. I'm hopeful, crossing my fingers. Question 2 is, "All I Want for Christmas Is You. Which book do you most want to see under the Christmas tree?" I don't think I'm going to actually get any books for Christmas this year, which is fine with me. If I did, though, I want any book published or reprinted by Juniper Books. The biggest reason I'm not going to be getting these books is because I want the entire collection, and they're not cheap. So I would really love the Lord of the Rings series, which is stunning, the Harry Potter series, which is obviously really beautiful. I love it. I think it would look so beautiful on my shelves. And then the 3rd series that I would want from them is Anne of Green Gables. They don't print the whole 8 books because all 8 books are not copyrighted. This is just, I think, 5 of the 8 books, I believe. I love them. I have become obsessed with Juniper Books, and I don't have anything of theirs, and that's what I'd want. One of those series. Question 3, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Name a character that overcomes major obstacles and learns to believe in themselves. This was another no-brainer for me, and I don't have the book because I've lent it out to pretty much everyone in my life, and that is The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery. The main character is Valancy Sterling. She comes from a family that is extremely stifling, and so she has lived her whole life very repressed and bland, and her existence is really sad. She's dealing with what I would call situational depression. She is just really unhappy, and one day she gets some news that changes her life. She gets this news and she decides that she is no longer going to live under the thumb of her family, and she's going to do what she wants, and she's going to live the way she wants, and she's going to be happy and carefree. And she does that, and the book takes off from there. It is so wonderful. It's basically a romance, but it's Ellen Montgomery. It's beautifully written. It's such a sweet romance. I love it so much. It's definitely one of my favorite books from the year. And Valancy, I never know how to pronounce her name. Valancy is such a plucky character. I love her. Question 4. Santa Claus is coming to town. Name a character on the top of the nice list and name a character on the top of the naughty list. On the top of the nice list, I am going with Clara Bow. This is from the book Clara Bow, Runnin' Wild. I don't know if I'm cheating a little bit. This is a nonfiction book about Clara Bow, who was a silent film actress, and she was another really free-spirited character. She kind of epitomized the flapper lifestyle. She was also treated really, really abysmally by the production company, Paramount Studios, that she was under contract with. But she herself was so lovable. She was hated by her community, by her peers, by her Hollywood peers. Hated might be a strong word, but she was really looked down upon for a lot of different reasons. But she had such a beautiful soul. She was so kind-hearted. She was known on set as just being really kind, incredibly generous, so generous that people would take advantage of her goodwill, which is really sad. What money she had, she would freely give away to anyone in need. At the height of her stardom, she would get a fan letter from a kid, for example, who said, "Come, sell hot dogs with me at my family's stand. We're not doing very well, and I know that you would be able to help us." And so, without any, input from her publicist and agent and stuff, those aren't the right terms, but, the people looking out for her or looking out over her career, she would just go and do it, and she'd be mobbed, of course, because she was hugely popular. Anyway, she was a beautiful, beautiful person, and she didn't deserve to be treated as poorly as she was. I fell in love with Clara Bow so much. Clara Bow, top of the nice list. And then at the top of the naughty list was Cathy Ames from East of Eden. I could have chosen a lot of different characters for the nice and naughty list from East of Eden because this book is basically a retelling of the story of Cain and Abel from the Bible. In the Bible story, Cain kills Abel, and so in this book, that's the story that's being told, but from a more modern perspective, a family that lives out in the Salinas Valley in California at the turn of the century or the 1850s. I don't remember when it takes place. One of the characters that I found the most reprehensible in this book was Cathy Ames, who was the wife of one of the best characters in the book. She was basically another psychopath. She had no conscience. She lived only for herself. She was extremely selfish and without any kind of compassion or moral compass. And not only that, but she also wasn't really likable because you could see her do these evil acts and it was just absolutely reprehensible. It was just very clear in the writing of this book that she was a villainous character and a very unlikable villainous character, although she must have had some charisma because she was able to dupe a lot of people. So she had some charm, but as the reader, we didn't get pulled in by her charm. So it was really easy to read about her and just despise her. So she's definitely at the top of my naughty list. Frosty the Snowman, which book melts your heart? I am going to go with A Man Called Ove. This is about a cranky man who lives in Sweden, whose life changes and his outlook on the world changes because of the group of people surrounding him after his wife dies. I listened to this on audiobook. I was kind of disappointed in my experience because I had a really hard time paying attention to it, so that was not the book's fault, it was my own fault. But that didn't stop me from crying loads and buckets of tears at the end of this book. It's so sweet, it's so heart-melting. It's very quirky and there's sort of a whimsical element to the book and the writing style. It's really lovely and I'm going to reread this book because I want to get the full experience and really sink into the book in a way that I wasn't able to listening to it on audiobook. Choose a book that takes place in a country other than your own. I could have gone with so many different books for this question. A lot of books that I read this year took place in Ireland, oddly enough. But I decided to go with The Dry by Jane Harper. This book takes place in Australia. I actually read a few books that took place in Australia this year. Anyway, The Dry takes place in Australia and it's very atmospheric. It takes place during a drought in Australia, and so you can feel the stifling heat and arid setting in the book. I love books that are really atmospheric like that, and this book had it in spades. Question 7. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Which holiday-themed book do you use to spread Christmas Joy. Another no-brainer. I just finished this book and I loved it. Mr. Dickens and His Carol by Samantha Silva. This book and its original counterpart, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, go hand in hand. They're perfectly companioned. I loved my reading experience of this book. It felt so Christmassy. It's set in Victorian London in the winter when Charles Dickens is attempting to write A Christmas Carol. His life sort of follows the trajectory of that book. It gave me all of the Christmassy feels, everything that I love about Christmas, sort of that nostalgia. This was another really heartwarming book. Samantha Silva does play fast and loose with real history. There's some elements of fantasy in this, for lack of a better word, or like magical realism maybe, and then also elements from his own life that she interpreted in a way that was probably not reality. However, if you are not a purist in terms of historical fiction, if you don't care that she plays a little fast and loose with her characters and with the actual events, then it is just so wonderful, and it's written beautifully too. It is my favorite Christmas book that I've come across apart from A Christmas Carol itself. Question 8, Sleigh Ride. Which fictional character would you choose to spend the holidays with? There is no question that I would spend my holiday in Three Pines with Armand Gamache and his wife Rain Marie and all of the characters that populate Three Pines. It would just be the coziest Christmas with good conversation and really, really good food and wonderful company. I would love to spend Christmas with Armand and all of his friends. I didn't read A Fatal Grace this year, but the reason I'm holding up this particular book is because it took place during the Christmas season, so I felt like it was an appropriate cover and setting. Question 9, Baby, It's Cold Outside. Which book that you didn't like would you sacrifice to a fire to warm yourself up in the cold? It is really hard for me to choose books like this because, I mean, for a variety of different reasons. One, I don't like even thinking about burning books. I don't think it's appropriate under any circumstance. But beyond that, I generally don't actively dislike books unless I find it really offensive in some way, and it's rare that I come across a book like that. But there are books that I'm disappointed in, or that I had different expectations for, or that I just didn't get along with the writing style. And so I would say, if I had to choose a book for this, it would be Mishling by Affinity Konar. Now, there could be a variety of reasons why I didn't get along with this book. One of which is that I really didn't get along with the writing. This was just not a good fit for me. I felt like it was too abstract. I was really disconnected from the characters. But there are also reasons why I might have felt like that while I was reading it. The biggest of which was that while I was reading this book, I was in the hospital with Wilder because Wilder had RSV, and so he was in the children's hospital for a week when he was 3 weeks old. So it was a really, really stressful time in my life, and Mishling is about twins that are being experimented on by this Nazi doctor in a concentration camp. And so the subject matter was really upsetting to begin with. I just really, really disliked the reading experience of it, and yeah, I think a lot of that had to do with the time and place in my life that I was reading it. Do you hear what I hear? What book do you think everyone should read? This is another question that is really hard to answer because people's reading tastes are so specific. It's hard to pick a one-size-fits-all kind of book. I went with the book Homegoing, which I also don't have a copy of right now because I'm lending it out to, I believe my aunt is reading it right now, and then I'm passing it along to my mother, because even if it's a book that might not be typically what someone would pick up, I do feel like it's a really, really important book, and a book that people should read no matter what, just because it is edifying. Homegoing is a book that basically tells the story of the transatlantic slave trade from a bird's eye view. At the beginning of the book, you meet two different sisters. One sister is married off to a slave trader, and the other sister is sold off to slavery and sent to America. And every subsequent chapter follows a different generation of these two sisters. It is an amazing look at this terrible time in history, but also how that has played out in the time since. And I really do think that it's a book that everyone should read, even if that's not a book that sounds appealing. It is a book that is readable and edifying and instructional and just also beautifully written. It's like, it kind of fulfills everything that a person would need in order to read it and appreciate it. And that was the last question. I will see you all in the coming week to talk about maybe what I'm thinking about for 2018 and reflect a little bit more about my 2017 reading life. I hope that you all have a very, very Merry Christmas. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more content, and I will talk to you all later. Merry Christmas!